So, wires everywhere. Which ones you need, which ones you don't, which ones you really don't care about. Well, I want uh, the dash to work in this, okay? The original dash, and I want it to look as about as OEM as possible. So, what I'm going to do is I pulled the harness, and I'm going to remove everything that I'm not going to need. Okay, so the way I go about it is I have these reusable zip ties, and I first go along the harness like this, and I mark what I don't need. Well, I don't need the controls for the 46RE anymore, for the governor pressure, the ground, and I certainly don't need the forward and post catalytic converter or O2 sensor plug, and I don't need I might use the shift selector plug, but I don't know if the paw has it in the reverse manual valve body. The TPS I no longer need for the transmission, so I'm going to get rid of that. And this one I think is I don't know, I forget what this one is, but I'll have to look that up in the manual. So yeah, this I don't need. The air control, and this one I'm not really sure about that one. I'll have to see. Some of these I got to go over still, but this I really don't. I don't need what is this one? Yeah, I just marked it with the idle air temperature. I don't need that anymore, but I'm still going to use the temperature sensors, and if I need to use this ground, I will. I got to see where this ground goes. And the rest, here's your AC pressure switch and the computer hookups. Alright, so those of you that aren't familiar with these style right here, hopefully the screen's a little brighter. So these connectors right here, these are called Thomas and Betts connectors, okay? They have a locking pin right here in the side. You push that and you can easily just slide the terminals in and out as you want. And they actually have little plugs you could put in the back so it'll seal the connector. But I like these. They're simple and pretty plentiful in the boneyard. They use them for a lot of years. Alright, and this is just your different accessories and switches. I'll see where this goes and what exactly these control, and I might use these for different switches in the dash. I don't know. So that's where I'm at. I got the engine in, the fuel regulators here, and I got to run the line to the fuel tank. I might have to pull the fuel tank down and just run the braided line. But I got to clean all this up, and I got something coming for the headers, and I might post a video of that. Other than that, I'm cutting out what I don't need and getting the harness, putting the harness basically on a diet, and that's that. Just a little update. So those are my dogs. They found something. Probably found another rabbit. Probably caught it, ate it. All right, guys. I'm looking at the screen. I'm not looking at the camera. Sorry. So that's where I'm at, and I'm gonna finish my morning coffee and get to it. All right. So. All right, wiring harness is completed, and all these going to the computer. I've took out a lot, and some of the wires are kind of redundant and go from one end of the harness to the other. And like the AC compressor, it has two grounds, one for the clutch and one for the pressure switch. And it goes all the way through the harness, back and forth, and then it goes to the top of the bracket for the alternator. And then they just have a ground from the alternator bracket going into the harness, and then it loops in the harness and comes right back into the ground. So whatever. So here's that. It just literally loops in the harness and goes right back to that. And this is on the bracket above the alternator. This goes to the AC clutch, and the other cut wire is the pressure switch for the AC system. That's done. Here's the harness for the O2 sensors. Okay, none of it's cut. All of it's, I mean, these are cut only because they're a common ground. Okay, it's in the harness. There's like six commons going to one feed from the computer. So that's the O2 harness. The idle air temperature harness, again, common ground is cut in the harness. That's going to the computer. So that the manifold, the map sensor, here's the 5-volt reference that's cut in the harness, and this also goes to a splice in the harness, and this goes to the computer. And then you got your common ground. Okay, there's the map sensor harness. The cam sensor, I don't need that anymore. Cam sensor's gone. And this is the transmission selector switch. Don't need that anymore. Reverse manual. It's all been taken out from the connectors. That's gone. The transmission control, these are your governor pressures, your grounds, your ignition hot, all this from the transmission connector. That's gone. Now I did save one sensor on the transmission, and that's because it's for my speedometer. That goes to this sensor goes into the harness. That's for the speedometer. Okay, that's still tied into the harness. And let's see. IAC motor, that's gone. Terminator's going to control that. Throttle position, again, reverse manual valve body, don't need that. So throttle position, gone. So all in all, I think that's it. It's not a lot of wires, because I'm definitely going to put more wires in for the Terminator system than I did taking it out. And there's a couple of other harnesses here. Here's for the injectors. Okay, all these gone. And this harness right here, this actually goes to the distribution connector, and they're terminated. They don't go anywhere. So I just took that out. I decided, yeah, I was going to use the heavy gauge wires for controls straight to the fuse box there, but I decided not to. If anything, I'm pretty sure I can find a ground or positive somewhere else underneath the dash or under the hood. So that's gone. And I think that's it. So pretty easy. I spent a few hours on it because I was just taking my time. And actually, what I did was, just to make sure I'm on the correct connector, I used the manual. Okay. And I traced the wire from the computer connector to the sensor and made sure that it was a correct one for the pinout in the manual, because sometimes the manual is wrong. So at any rate, that's it. I mean, it's got a good, that's what I'd taken out. It's going to get boxed up, numbered, set aside in case I have a problem with the circuit somewhere on my other vehicles, because, you know, basically I've got this Durango, and the Dakota is basically, it's the same computer, it's the same engine, it's the same transmission, it's all the same. So if they have a problem with a circuit, I got the wires and connectors. That's about it. So the weather's cooling off, and I have to actually get the tractor inside here and start working on that, because that needs to be running by the end of winter. So a lot to do there. The Pontiac, I'll be doing some body work on a Pontiac over the winter. I'll have to order the core support brackets and all the plastic pieces that go in the passenger fender well, and that's about it. So, all right, that's update on the Durango. I did have an idea of actually, instead of getting this, the throttle body here, I was just going to gut one of my Holley carburetors and basically use a Holley carburetor for a throttle body. But that went to the wayside. I actually got this really, really cheap, so I'm going to cruise with it. That's it. It's basically, that's what's going to the fuse block. This may or may not look like a lot of wires. It really isn't. So let's go over this. This is your alternator. I'm going to need that for the dash to work. Yeah, I forgot what that is. It's probably just a AC pressure sensor. Actually, it is. This is the one that goes, yeah, okay, so this is AC sensor. Here's a crank. This is for the tachometer. This is speedometer. That's it. Here's the lights for the front end. Fog, high beam, low beam, stuff like that. Other connectors here. It's for the computer. And then the computer ground. That's it. Simple. I still have the original fuel line here. I got to get rid of that. I'm going to take it off the transmission. And I have my regulator here. And I'm debating whether to put 2 regulators, but you know, this isn't this is no high performance track vehicle, so I'm not going to put 2 regulators. I'm just going to put the one and run a 42 psi to the injectors and just go from there. All right. Next on the agenda, getting the original harness back in place, and after that's done, I'll be running the Terminator system. So it is what it is. And on the Terminator system, I'm going to be running coil near plug. So I did put the connectors. Oh, these are your injectors. I think this is it. Here you go. Here's your odd. All right, so you got your odd coils and your even coils. So that's spliced in. So that's spliced into the Terminator harness. And I don't like electrical tape. This is friction tape, and better than friction tape is Coroplast. If you want something to really, really look good, use Coroplast. So that's that. A lot to do. A lot to do. So now I got to clean up the garage, get things organized, and the next thing, get the harness back in the truck where it needs to go. Terminator harness and fuel lines. So that's next. See you.